Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Awesemo.com GPP lineup building show, sponsored by Jock Market. We'll build 3 DraftKings lineups for Week 14. So let's go. First is our stud lineup, the Tom Brady and the Bucs stack. So I think that you got some really good options with Antonio Brown continuing to be out. That really consolidates a lot of the work between Evans, Godwin, and Gronk. And also Brashad Perryman kind of been making a little bit of a splash. So maybe a really cheap guy you could consider. But probably want to go with 2 or 3 of Evans, Godwin, and Gronk. Or I could throw in Fournette if I pick the stack. This game should be pretty amazing for stacking. So I'm pretty excited about this one. Let's go with Evans. His ownership's a little bit lower. And Gronk, nothing against Godwin. And I do kind of want to run it back. Fortunately, the Bills have some really great value options. They didn't have a good game last week, but I'm throwing that out the window. I mean, those weather conditions were ridiculous. So Beasley or Emmanuel Sanders look pretty good. I think Emmanuel Sanders, since all my players so far are a little bit higher owned, maybe go into the lower owned option on the Bills could be a good play. All right, running back. Because I went expensive at the stack, I need some value running backs. And one of my favorite options this week is Saquon Barkley. He got a ton of dump offs with Mike Glennon under center. And it's not exactly sure who's going to be quarterback. It doesn't really matter for the Giants. I think Barkley is going to get those short passes, which really add up. And then one guy, since this is a kind of popular stack, I'm going to go with a really contrarian play, Donta Foreman. I think that, the matchup versus the Jags is definitely good. They cut Adrian Peterson. That really was an endorsement of Foreman. And they have Jeremy McNichols coming back, but I think that really impacts Hilliard more than Foreman. So I had not a ton of money left to spend, so let's go with a cheap defense, Texans. I think that the Seahawks haven't really shown much this year, and if you're getting a defense versus a team that's been kind of mediocre, it doesn't really matter what the name is. All right, I need some more value. A good position to do that is wide receiver. So let's go with Amari Cooper. Maybe people will be a little bit hesitant to go back because he was super limited in the last game. So we'll want to keep an ear to the streets to really know exactly what the workload's going to be there. And then I have 5,500 left. I can go a number of ways. I do want to get some leverage with this pick. So Landry, pretty solid option at the right price point. And actually, this lineup, I ended up getting a contrarian ranking of over 90%. So that means that this lineup is really differentiated, which is great. And the projection is higher than your average lineup at 70 to 80th percentile. All right, lineup 2. I think Taysom Hill is going to be popular this week, but I really don't like the pass catchers in New Orleans. So I'm going to go with Cam Newton. I think the matchup is great. Another guy coming off a rough performance, but he adds a ton of rushing production. So we really only need to pair him with one guy. DJ Moore is the obvious one. So I think DJ Moore, and I don't mind throwing in another wide receiver, but the passing volume for the Panthers is quite low. So let's look at the Falcons side. I think that you don't really need to run this stack back, but if you want you need some passive production from the Panthers, which is more likely to happen if Atlanta puts up some points. And Russell Gage has been pretty solid. Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts has been really disappointing, but the workload has been, solid, and the positionality of getting a tight end in your stack helps. All right. Since I went cheap at my stack, I can go with an expensive option at running back. Eckler versus the Giants. They're huge favorites. I mean, this sets up really nicely. And then probably wouldn't want to get Saquon in this lineup because I have Eckler. Javonte Williams is someone I'm looking at pretty closely this week because after last week, he really showed that he's an excellent player. I feel like the scale is going to tilt a little bit in favor of Javonte Williams this week, and the matchup is amazing. So I think that's a really good running back play this week. All right. And then let's throw in a defense so we know what we're working with. I think Taysom Hill is going to be pretty popular, but you get the Saints defense, maybe that tells a different story. And they have an amazing matchup versus the Jets. So I think that's definitely the top defense to go to this week. And then let's go with Cole Beasley. I definitely want a piece of this Buffalo-Tampa game if I can get one. And he's really cheap compared to how much passing we're expecting here. All right. I need a little bit of salary relief to have a good option for the last pick. So Marvin Jones. Jacksonville hasn't been very effective recently, but I think that there's so much volatility in the wide receiver position that if a guy is playing all the snaps, they usually have huge upside. So this is a buy low situation. And then at 5,600 left, I think that Landry fits in pretty well here. And then, okay, this lineup ended up being pretty chalky. So maybe I would want to make some pivots to a little bit more contrarian players. I suppose I could, instead of going with Landry, I could go with Dalton Schultz at tight end for the flex. And that did raise my differentiation factor to an acceptable level. So that was a tweak where I don't like Schultz as much as Landry, but this particular lineup, it makes sense. All right. Lineup 3, Matt Ryan, the other side of the game. I think that the Falcons have been pretty dreadful, but they pass a lot. That's really what we're looking for. And Gage and Pitts, I think, are the clear options to pair him with. And then running it back with DJ Moore makes a lot of sense. Actually, I don't think you need to run this one back because Cam Newton, if he has a big day, that'll keep the Panthers scoring high. But that doesn't necessarily mean any of the other players will be successful. So just something to think about. All right. Mixon showed he has pretty big upside in the matchups. A little bit tough, but he's a workhorse. So I think that maybe he'll be a little bit less popular than usual this week. And then if go contrarian at running back and go with Zeke, Tony Pollard has a torn plantar fascia, so there is a world where Ezekiel Elliott gets a bigger workload this week. But the main thing I'm looking at is just the ownership percentage is low. They're favorites in the game, so I think it's a reasonable option this week. Let's go to we can go with a chalk defense. The Seahawks, just cheap and facing the Texans, enough said. All right, and then I maybe want to get a contrarian receiver, Emmanuel Sanders. Got 5,200 left per player, so pretty much have to go pretty cheap here. Let's see. One guy, I could go double tight end again and go Jared Cook in the flex. I think that he's going to get a bump in usage, presuming that Keenan Allen doesn't play this week. And that gives me room to go with another stud. So I think that two tight end lineups are usually pretty unpopular. So CeeDee Lamb in the flex. This one, I got too high contrarian ranking versus value. So I might want to make a tweak here. I think I would need to take Ezekiel Elliott out and try to go with a little bit better running back from a value perspective. So let's put in Saquon. And then I can get in a $4,600 player at flex. Let's see, Marvin Jones. All right, so this did boost my value ranking up a decent amount, so I'm in a playable range. So that's one way you can use the Awesemo lineup builder to kind of tweak your lineups. And I want to mention if you use Jock Market, it's actually a really cool way to get some action on these players. You kind of invest in the players, and you get paid out based on how well they rank at the end of the night. It's like Marvin Jones. Like, he will get scored if he's one of the top 25 players. You get a payout, and if you can get him cheap, like under $2.74 is our projected return. You kind of like bid on the players. It's an IPO, a lot of fun. Promo code Awesemo gets you a free $100 match bonus on Jock Market, so make sure to check them out. All right, guys, let me know what you think of these lineups, and good luck this week.